investment into this country. Private investment is stagnating at 15% of our GDP, but the FDI is less than 1% of the GDP.
Right.
So that is the reason why we are focusing on that. And it is because it ticks most of the Kenya Kwanza impact, what is geared to. Because if you bring FDI, we're bringing the forex stock. The forex stock, if it comes to Kenya, you create jobs. And if it is in the manufacturing sector and then we export, we also get FDI again. Because in our forex stock, there are four forex stock in our country. First is export. Second is remittance. So at the export, we are at $6 billion US. Then we have remittance from diaspora remittance, which is at $4 billion US. The third one is on tourism. And the fourth one is FDI. Okay, so you can see the level of forex stock. FDI is the lowest, and we need to reverse that trend. And as a State Department, we are working with State Department of Diaspora to double the forex stock of $4 billion to $8 billion US, and out of that, 50% to come to investment. We are working with the State Department of Trade, which they're dealing with export, to ensure that we double the exports from 6 to 12. And we are working with the State Department of Tourism to ensure that any tourist comes to Kenya, you visit Kenya, you invest into Kenya.
Right, hitting the thin line between tourism and
yes.
business
yes.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And maybe if we could just concentrate on that for a moment.
Yes.
We're seeing that there are a lot of tax policy regimes that might not be attracting foreign investors into the country. One of them is our tax regime. What are some of the policy regulations that the Ministry or the State Department is working on to ensure that we attract more investors?
The tax policy is very good. In fact, it is very competitive for foreign investors. First, the foreign investors or the business community, they were concerned they wanted a tax policy which is predictable. Mm-hmm. The president has already approved a policy which is predictable, a tax policy which is predictable. Any tax measures will be removed, will be amended after every 3 years.
Right.
Okay. The second issue the investment community were afraid of, or they were concerned of, is the issue of VAT refunds. They were not getting the VAT refunds and they were affecting their cash flow. The president had pronounced himself, and it is in the Finance Act, that if you can't get your refund in the next 6 months, you offset from your future tax liability. Yeah, everything is good. In our economic zones, we are removing almost zero taxes on withholding tax to foreign investors who are setting up here.
Abubakar, it's been a year.
Yep.
You have been the PS for the State Department of Investment Promotion.
Yes.
What are some of the reforms maybe that you have either championed or that you've come up with that has changed this particular sector?
Okay. So reforms, they can only be in three.
Again,
it can either be
the
legal
rule of threes.
or policy or administrative. So as far as legal, when we engage the business community and we have bottlenecks which are cost in nature, cost competitive, we remove them through the Finance Act,
right,
which we made with there are many provisions in the Finance Act which are pro-business. For example, in the e-mobility sector, right, we have exempted VAT on all the manufacturers who wants to assemble the e-border borders or the e-tuk-tuks, the e-bikes. So there's a lot of investment opportunities there. Second one is on the smartphone. You can see the government is putting the infrastructure where the Gavam Kononi, where everything is automated and everything is online. So with that, we need people to have smartphones to access the government services. So we have given an opportunity for investors to come and manufacture or assemble smartphone by removing all the taxes there. The next issue is on the tea and coffee. Most of our tea and coffee is 95% is exported raw. We have removed the taxes so that the manufacturer or the processor can process the tea, and we value add, so that we can export a tea which is value added. Right. So a lot of measures we've put in place as far as tax is concerned. Right now we are coming up with a business amendment bill, which now we are focusing on regulatory issues. Right. And by the end of this year, I think the cabinet will approve the business amendment bill 2023.
while you are at the helm of that particular office, what would you say for the businesses that are watching this at this particular moment?
Yes.
What would you say are some of the sectors that appeal more to foreign investors? Have you maybe seen that there are particular sectors that sell very well to them? Are there sectors that don't sell very well? What would you say they are?
It's not about what the people want, it's about what we want. We are funneling and channeling private investment into our 5 pillars of our Kenya Kwanza administration, that is agriculture, healthcare, SME, construction in the it's called construction industry, affordable housing,
yes,
and the digitization. And we have 10 priority value chain. So we are channeling and funneling investment into that area through prioritizing and incentivizing those value chains. So it is about what we need as a country,
right,
not what they need. Although our philosophy is investor-centric.
Okay.
Yes.
Investor-centric, but what we
investors in what they need for them to invest in that value chain.
Right.
But we want the money to go to areas we believe it is our development goals.
If I could just take you back.
Yes.
You've spoken about value addition as one of the major selling points, and
yes,
considering that a lot of the export materials that we export are usually in raw form.
Yes.
One of the emerging issues is that a lot of Kenyan products don't necessarily meet the standards that is needed in the international markets. And of course, SEZ, DPZAs are, one of the places where we are trying to ensure that we can, damage control a little bit. Or what would you say are some of the things that your State Department has done and that the ministry has done to ensure that the products that we are sending out are of the best quality?
The State Department of Trade is building capacity to people, to the farmers, to meet the required standard, and they will be investing on a quality center in Mombasa to make sure that the standards, our Kenyan investors or businessmen meet the standards.
And now, as we start to conclude, because I hear that we don't have enough time,
yes,
what would you say have been the highlights of the State Department so far? We have just seen that the Cabinet Secretary, Moses Kuria, was ranked by Infotrack as the 4th Cabinet Secretary, 4th best performing Cabinet Secretary, and it's above 40%. What would you say are the highlights of your tenure so far?
Of his tenure, of mine?
Yours first.
Okay, the highlights he has been ranked number what?
4th.
Number 4?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it was number 1 because
well,
I think
is it 4th or 5th?
Is driving the economy of this country, and he has done a lot, and he has 3 goals. He's focusing one is on manufacturing. He's very clear. He has given us the direction and what to do, and we are implementing what he is saying to make sure that the manufacturing as a percentage of GDP move from 7 to 15%. And 20% by 2030. He has given me a mandate of making sure I'm increasing the level of investment from 500 million to 10 billion US dollars, and in terms of trade, from 10% percentage of GDP to 30%.
Well, as we conclude, once again, the very last question.
Yes.
We've said 500 million.
Yes.
Right? And it's, 3-4 months before December?
Yes.
Our aim is 10 billion.
10 billion.
How will we achieve this?
What I can assure you that we will break the record ever FDI in the Kenyan history. I told you the best ever was 2.1 billion US dollars, and we'll break that record. Whether